Well, I didn't think we were going to be sitting here talking about more stuff when it comes to Mario Party Jamboree this soon, but apparently that is the case. On the 9th, whether that is yesterday or the day before, depending on when I'm able to actually get this video out, a whole boatload of different YouTubers and different video game places started releasing more videos and more content on Mario Party Jamboree, and I'm going to try my damnedest to give you as much of that information in one singular video as I can. I am hoping that I got everything, but you never know. There's probably at least one or two things that I have missed. So if there is anything that I did miss that you want to mention, feel free to leave it down in the comments below. Before we do get into it, I just want to say links to every single person's footage who I use in this video will be in the description below. So feel free to go through and check out all the videos to see all the different details and all the different footage that you possibly can. Okay, now to the video. So I think first we'll start with the things that you're going to probably see as you either start up the game or right before you actually go into the boards. So when you first get into selecting your character, you'll see that there are 20 unlocked characters, and it looks like the 2 locked characters will be Pauline and Ninji. But of course, we don't know how you're actually going to be able to unlock them, so it could be just something as simple as playing the game, or maybe there's some specific modes that you gotta play, you gotta buy them from a shopper, who knows, but those 2 seem to be the 2 unlockable characters. Also, something that's really neat is that when you actually select each character, they each have like 3 different voice lines that'll play whenever you select them, and I think that's just kind of like a cute and neat idea to, you know, add a little bit more charm to the game.
Let's do this. Let's go. It's a me. Let's go. Luigi. Oh yeah. Wario. Baby.
Now, the one last thing that we saw before you actually get to the board itself is it looks like we get a little bit of a look when it comes to the actual configuration of the boards. So on here, you can change the rounds, bonus stars, and then for the mini games, you can change if you want to see the rules, if you want the dynamic mini games or like the motion mini games, or you can change the selection of the types of mini games. Now here, it does say that apparently 10 rounds will take about 90 minutes. That's long. If that is the case, that is 50% longer than an average game of 10 turns on Super Mario Party, much less Superstars. My hope is that when we actually get to know the game and we're actually playing the game ourselves and, you know, we've had all that fun stuff, that it won't take that long. You know, I'm hoping it'll take more around like the Superstars time per, 10 turns. Now, when it comes to the bonus stars, it says yes there. Now, will it just say yes or no, or will it also say something along the lines of classic, or maybe can you do custom? Probably not, but hey, it would be an awesome thing to be able to do. But after you do all your selections, you're gonna get into the game, and something that I didn't initially notice, but was kind of brought up to me, was the fact that each character has their own little jingle that'll play at the start of each of their turns.
Wario time. All right.
All right.
And I just think that's a nice detail to add to every specific character to give them a little bit more charm. What's something that is very nice is that whenever you decide to actually look at the board itself, you get a whole outlook of the entire board, and it shows literally everything. It more or less shows what each of the happening spaces are going to entail. It shows where the star is. It shows perfectly what every space is. And it just shows a whole bunch of details that I think, again, just make it look nicer. So the first event that we haven't known of exactly what it's done yet, but now we kind of do, is that the piranha plants on each side will start by taking 5 coins from you if you land on one of their spaces. Now, after you land on one of their spaces, it'll go up to 6. Then it will go up to 7, and so on and so forth. Every single time, it will raise by 1 coin, determining how much they'll actually take from you. The other one is the honey and the hives that are at the top of the board. You collect the honey from the hives, and you get to choose 2 if you get the first correct. If you choose the first one incorrect, you'll get the bees and you'll get nothing. However, if you choose the correct one, which does have honey, then you can get a second choice to also get money for that one as well. We have the purple item shops, which are hosted by Kamek, and those will contain items that you cannot find anywhere else on each of the boards. We'll kind of get a little bit more into the items themselves when we actually get to the item section, but just wanted to bring it up here. We also learned that the double or lucky minigames are indeed back, but they are seemingly actually random when they show up. Initially, when I was watching all these videos, it did kind of look like it was kind of staged to always be on like turn 2, but then I saw somebody else play, it wasn't on turn 2, so it does seem like it is random when it actually does show up instead of after every 5th turn. We also got to see the reactions or stickers, and honestly, I like the way that they look more than in Superstars. I know there are going to be people who like how they look more in Superstars. I don't know, just the art style of them looks so much better to me here. Now, the hidden blocks are back, but we already kind of knew that the hidden blocks were back because you could see the hidden block cards were back from Superstars and Super. But the thing about this so far is we've only seen 2 of them. We saw one that gave you 10 coins, and we saw one that gave you 20 coins. So, was it just coincidence that it was only 10 and 20, or is it now where it's 10, 20, and a star, or something along those lines? Or is it still actually random amount of coins or a star? I'm kind of hoping it's either 10, 20, or a star, just because I don't want to get a hidden block and only get 4 coins. That feels like, why did I even get it? We also learned more about all the different types of spaces. We'll start with the Bowser spaces. Oh my god, is the Imposter Bowser big? He towers over you when you're sitting in front of him. Now, the things there that looks like we can lose are 10 coins, 15 coins, 20 coins. Everybody loses 10 coins or a Bowser Shuffle. I'm going to assume that just because this is in like an earlier round, there isn't something like the Bowser Revolution, or maybe in the second half you can lose a star from Bowser. You know, more or less some of the things that were in Superstars. So that's more or less what I'm expecting to actually be here. The next type of spaces we'll talk about are the unlucky spaces. And these are the ones that are kind of leaving the worst taste in my mouth. Just because I was expecting worse when it comes to the unlucky spaces, they kind of feel like how they were in Super, but maybe a little worse, as in like a better way. Like the most that I've seen is that you could lose 7 of your coins. And then the one thing that I don't really know when it comes to them are what a lodestone is. Maybe that's a new item? Potentially. Maybe it's a thing where if you max out on the lodestones, you have to use them from your inventory. Like there's something that block you from getting items, and you have to use them to be able to actually buy other items or get other items from item spaces. That would be interesting, but I'm probably wrong. Then we have the lucky spaces. Again, we don't really get to see the lucky spaces in like the second half of the game, where they might be a little bit more powerful, but they more or less seem on par with Superstars, maybe a tiny bit less powerful, but they're probably more or less around the same as they were in Superstars. Now we actually got to see what the final 5 events are going to look like, and there are some interesting things here. So with the final 5, it does look like you're going to have your normal, every space is either plus 3 coins for blue or another minus 3 for red, making them plus 6 and minus 6. And then from there, it looks like the person in last place will either get to pick or will randomly pick one of 5 events. Now, we don't know if these are the only 5 events, or maybe there are 5 specific events on each board, or maybe along the lines of like there are 10 events, but it'll pick 5 random for each time that you're playing. Those are my guesses. We'll see. But the ones that we do see, of course, they are translated, so some of it could be just a tiny bit wrong. But one says that somebody will get a mushroom. One says that everybody will get double their coins. One says that everybody will get a star hex. One says that everybody will get a double dice. Or one says that there will be more Bowser spaces added to the board. I'm just happy that it isn't just a simple, you're in last place, take this item or take 10 coins. Because think about it. everybody gets a star hex. That is going to create potentially a good amount of chaos over the last 5 turns. And I'm here for it. The next few things we learned are more or less exactly how they were in Superstars. Duels looks like you can only duel for your coins. I would have loved to have been able to actually duel for a star, but what it looks like, it may just be coins, unless the only reason they did that was because the 2 people involved didn't have a star, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. The next is that chance time is more or less the same as it was in Superstars. Same 3 blocks, probably more or less the same things as they were in the middle on Superstars. And then Boo will work similar again to how he worked in Superstars. You can either steal money from somebody for free, or you can pay 50 coins to steal a star. You'll have that bar on the bottom that will fill up as you're button mashing and all that fun jazz. And the last thing that we're going to talk about specifically for the boards, this could have been put in the items, but we're going to talk about it here, is that the hexes are one-time uses. After somebody lands on them and gives you the 10 coins or half coins or a star, it will go away. I'm going to assume for now that when you land on your own hex, that nothing will happen, but when somebody else does land on it, it'll happen and then it'll go away. All right, now let's move on to the next category, and that is talking specifically about the allies. Now, in the game, it does call them like Jamboree friends, but just because everybody knows more or less what an ally is, I feel like it's just easier to say ally. So for right now, until we actually get the game and I'm calling them Jamboree friends for a long time, this is just what I'm gonna say. So it looks like the allies themselves will show up on the boards at random times. Everybody was playing 10-turn games. Some people have the allies show up on turn 6. Other people have the allies show up on turn 8. So my guess, and this could be completely wrong, but my guess is that you'll have an ally show up for like the first half and an ally show up for the second half if you're playing like a 20-turn game. Whereas if you're playing a 10-turn game, you'll only see one ally show up per game. Could be totally wrong, but that's what I feel like I'm gonna go with for right now. Now, we learned that each ally will have their own special ability. We were able to see 4 of them. The first one we saw was Donkey Kong. Now, on Donkey Kong, I don't know if this is forced upon you, or I don't know if this is something that you can choose. But with Donkey Kong, you can move to a random space at the beginning of your turn. Now again, I don't know if this is forced upon you or if you can choose, but I'm hoping it's you can choose, because otherwise, who would want Donkey Kong? If you used him to warp to a random space, you got 1 space behind the star, and then you were forced to teleport the very next turn. That would suck. So I do hope that it is a choice. Then we learn what Luigi's is, and Luigi, it gives you a higher chance to roll higher numbers, which, cool, that one's fine, no problem with that one. Then we have Daisy, which all items will look to be half off in shops when you pass by a shop with Daisy. Yeah, I kind of had a feeling one character was probably going to have something along those lines, so again, that one doesn't bother me whatsoever. But apparently there was one other one that I didn't know about initially, and that one is actually Mario. And it looks like for Mario, whenever you get him, it will add 3 to 8 points onto your dice roll. So let's say you roll a 10, I guess Mario himself would roll a 3 through 8 dice block, and then you could get 13 to 18. My guess is that Mario will be the only character to probably have something like this, where everybody else will have something that is more like on the board or in a minigame or with items or, you know, something along those lines. Mario is, my guess, the only person who will actually have a thing where it's you get an extra roll. At least that is my hope. Now, this may quell some people's thoughts and potential hatred for the allies. There are a few things that we need to run by, so let's start with probably the bigger one. The allies will only last for 3 turns. If you get the ally on turn 6, then by turn 9, expect them gone. That makes it so much better. It's a limited time thing. You can't sit there and collect 4 of them to do 4 different abilities. It's only one, and they'll show up. You can use their ability for a couple of turns. You can do something else that we'll talk about in just a few seconds for a couple of turns, and that's it. But there is a caveat. Each ally can be stolen from you. If anybody passes you on the board while you have an ally, they will take them from you. So, if you are right in front of somebody and they are about to get the ally and they go before you, they look like they're gonna win, maybe you're in second, it might be better for you to let them win, and then after they pass you, you can then roll past them and steal the ally for yourself. There looks like there will be strategy of whether you actually want to get the ally or not. Because if you get the ally and somebody is one space behind you, say goodbye to that ally if they go before you. Now, everything is doubled. When you have an ally, every single thing looks to be doubled or just happens twice. If you land on a blue space, you'll get 6 coins. If you land on a red space, you'll lose 6 coins. If it is the final 5 turns, if you land on a blue space, you'll get 12. If you land on a red space, you'll lose 12. Now, apparently there is also news that if you land on a Bowser space, whatever you roll on will happen twice. So, if there is a loose star on Bowser, you might lose 2 if you have an ally with you. But of course, that begs the question. If you land on a versus spaces, will you play 2 versus minigames? If you land on a chance time space, will you do 2 chance times? Or will, like, the chance time that happen to you twice? You know, will it be you get 2 chances at certain things? Or will just the whatever happen twice to you? There's a lot to really think about and take in when it comes to the allies. And honestly, I'm happy with what we got. And I am totally fine and ready to just wait until the actual game comes out to learn everything else about them. But of course, if we do get more, I'm cool with that too. But the last thing that I want to talk about with the allies themselves is we did get to see 2 new mini games for the allies themselves. We already knew about the Donkey Kong one, where it's basically Donkey Konga. I don't know if we've seen the Mario one. If so, I will continue to look for it, but if I can't find it and if it isn't a thing, I am sorry. But the first one we got to see was Daisy's minigame, and you go onto 5 different rounds to get as many Daisy tokens as you can get, or whatever they are called. The person with the most will get Daisy at the end of the minigame. It starts off as one of those minigames where, like, you remember playing from Mario Party 10, and then it just turns into Fall Guys, where you're jumping over things, you gotta avoid falling into the cracks. Like, that one looks very fun. I'm very excited for that one. Then we also got to see Luigi's minigame, and Luigi's looks really fun too. It looks like you're gonna have 8 to 9 different puzzles that you need to solve in order to find Luigi. Like, the first one that we see is you got to take the pictures from the easels and put them correctly onto the thing itself, and that'll open the door. The next one, you got to find the odd one out, and then once you find that one out, you can move on. There's another one where you got to press the specific tiles on the ground in a specific order, then you can move on. And then the last one that I remember is it looks just like Hotel Goomba. I know there was that leak of the potential of Hotel Goomba coming back as, like, Goomba's ally, but no, probably isn't, and we'll get to that in a minute because I think I have an idea of what those 5 mini games are. But we get the spirit of Hotel Goomba as one of the rooms in Luigi's ally minigame. The only thing that I'm not 100% certain on of the ally minigames that we know about is whether or not Mario's ally minigame is straight up play these 3 minigames. Shy Guy says, Bumper Balls, and Leaf Leap. And then whoever does best at all of them will get Mario. Or if it's like a random one where you play one of them and then whoever wins will get Mario. That I don't know. Again, maybe somebody has footage of that. Maybe it's out there if I can't find it. But I'm trying. All right, the next thing that we're going to be talking about are the items. We did get to learn a little bit more about the items specifically. So let's start off with the item wheel. If you look at the item wheel, at one point, it looks like there is a minigame symbol. So I'm going to guess that in order to play one of the actual item minigames, you have to land on it on the wheel, which I think is a cool idea. I'm cool with that. I have no problem with that. I thought it was going to be more like Mario Party 3, where either randomly would give you the wheel or randomly it would let you play one of the mini games. But it looks like you're just going to actually have to land on it to play one of the item mini games. We learned that the custom dice is exactly as it is in Superstars. I just would have rather preferred that the custom dice weren't like in Super and Superstars and were like when they were in Mario Party 6, Mario Party 7, Mario Party 8, where it slowly rolled up and you had to time it. But alas, that is what it is. We did officially learn that the green warp pipes will actually warp you to a completely random space. So if you are very far away from the star and you just want to Hail Mary yourself to potentially get closer, you can use that. There's also the shop hotbox, which will warp you to one of the random shops on the board. You could get warped to one of the normal ones, or you could get warped to one of the Kamek ones. Now we're going to get back to the Koopa shop, which I was kind of talking about earlier in the video. And the one that we see that is on Mega Wigglers has a creepy dice instead of a cursed dice. That is what they are now called. Super creepy dice, the Wiggler Bell, the Chomp Call, and then the Dueling Glove. Those are the 5 specific items that are at the shop. I am certain that once we get to the second half of the game, there will probably be a 6th item. But of course, everything does exactly what you probably think it does, except now with the super creepy dice, you make it to where everybody has to roll one of those dice, which are 1 through 3. Now, there are 2 other things that I want to talk about when it comes to the items. The first one is something that we got to see, and one is that we didn't. So the thing that we got to see was the mushroom ticket, or whatever that is specifically called. Now, with that, from what it looks like, you can use it to get a mushroom. Now, I don't know if you can just use it while you're out and about and then bam, you get a mushroom, or if you have to bring that ticket to a shop and that will get you a free mushroom. It does say something about like 2 to 4 tickets or something like that, but I don't really know exactly what that means. So I'm just going to assume for now that it's just talking about how you get it, and then maybe you have to bring it back to the shop and you get like a free mushroom or something along those lines. The other thing is the mirror. We didn't get to see what the mirror did, but there has been a mirror item that we could basically see ever since the beginning. So it is nice to see that it's just out and about on people's, inventories. Now the question is, what will that do? Because apparently, according to some people that were in my stream, it looks like the warp pipe will just randomly teleport you to a space. The orange warp block will just randomly teleport you to somebody, but maybe the actual mirror itself will swap you with somebody, like how the warp block was in every other game. So, I don't know. We'll see. Alright, now we're going to be talking about the minigames. And the minigames that we're going to be focusing on are the new ones that we were able to actually see footage of. There were some minigames that we got to see, like the names of them, but we really didn't get to see exactly what they entailed. So, for right now and for this video, we're just going to be focusing on the ones that are from the older games that we got to see for the first time, or just completely new ones that we got to see for the first time. So we have to start with the one that hurts me the most. But Robo Arm Wrestling, I thought it was going to be like Manic Mallets from Mario Party 5 where you mash A, but it does look like it is one of the Joy-Con specific minigames where you just gotta shake as fast as you can. We also got to see the Triathlon, where it looks like you have to shake your Wii Remote while you're in the water, rotate it like you did in Trike Harder when you're on the bike, and then shake again to jump over the hurdles when you are running. First one to make it to the end will win. Then we got to get a better look at Blame It on the Crane, and it looks in this one that you're in complete control over where the crane actually is. In 4, you had to hold the A button and it would go back and forth, and then once you released it, then it would actually go down and pick up the ball. But it looks like in here, you just control with your stick whether you want it all the way to the left or all the way to the right or in the middle, and then you press A, and then that will actually drop it. I need to feel how this is to determine whether I prefer this or if I prefer the other version. But again, from what it looks like the one will have a potentially lot easier of a time getting the 3 in here than they did in Mario Party 4. Then we have that on-off minigame, and just by my eyes and just looking at it, it looks like the 3 will probably have the advantage in that one, just so long as, you know, at least one of the people is, when they're by themselves, has, you know, full reign of knowing how to jump and there's not a lot of lag if you're playing online. Then we have Treasure Divers. We finally got a good look at Treasure Divers. It looks like the big chest will have 5, medium chest will have 3 coins, and then the small chest will have 1 coin. From what it looks like, there will be a total of 26 coins to collect between everybody. So, not a huge amount, but still enough for a decent coin minigame. Next, we have a Tilt-A-Golf. This was one of the very first motion control minigames that they showed us. It was the hammer one, and then it was this one. From what it looks like, you tilt your Joy-Cons, and then you can press one of the buttons to like jump over sand pits or maybe move a little bit faster, something along those lines. I think that one's a pretty cool one. Next, we have the log minigame, and based off of the name that was shown on one of the wheels, I'm going to guess that this name is Lumber Tumble. I could be totally wrong on this, but just kind of putting the pieces together in my head, that is my guess. Now, initially when I saw this minigame, I didn't like it. I didn't love it. Some about it made me think it was going to be way too easy. Everybody was going to win, and that's just how it was going to be. However, we did get to see 4 people play it, and it looks better than I thought it was going to be. The logs themselves, the lumber that is hanging from both sides, look like they close in much more than I thought. It looks like the speed will differ, where sometimes it'll go slow and then randomly it'll go a lot faster, and it will go both forwards and backwards. So you add all of those things together, and I think this minigame is looking a lot better and a lot more fun and difficult than I had originally thought it was going to be. Next up, we have a duel minigame, which looks like it is just bowling. I don't know if it's going to be like one single frame of bowling, or maybe it's like a best of 3 frames, or I don't know. I don't care. It looks fun, and I'm very excited for it. I cannot wait to play this as a duel minigame. The next minigame, we have those toads that are rolling on the balls. It looks almost exactly like what I thought it was going to be, where the toads are going to roll, and you got to remember which character is on each of the balls, and then you just got to point out which character was Dry Bones on, or this version of Boo, or who wasn't on any of the balls, stuff like that. Next, we saw the minigame where it's the UFO in the air, and they drop spike platforms on the 3. I thought it was going to be like different ways, or some were like upside down or something along those lines, but no, it does look like all of them will be facing downwards. So you just got to make sure that you're not under it and then get caught. Next, we learn about the mining minigame. I don't know what the name of the minigame actually is, but it's another motion minigame where you just got to dig through the mountain, and this one seems to be rather quick. It looks like one that you're going to be able to do a lot faster than like Trike Harder from Super Mario Party. So I feel like it's one that's a little too fast, but it's another motion one. Then we got to see the 1v3 Plessy minigame. This one looks like it could be a pretty fun coin minigame. The one person is on the Plessy, and that person looks like Plessy can go ahead of everybody else to get the coins first, because Plessy's probably faster. But if you decide to slow down, it looks like you can try to bump everybody else off. So that way, they have to wait for their respawn to be able to get more coins. So it's more of a, do you want to be an asshole, or do you want to just get as much money as you can? Then we saw the minigame where you're trying to lasso up the chests with your ropes, teams 2v2. So it looks like in this minigame, the small chest can be gotten by one person, but if you want the big chest, you both have to rope it in the time that it actually goes by your circle. Then we got to see Platform Peril for the first time, and now Platform Peril is a coin minigame. I would have liked it if they kept it the same, but maybe it's something along the lines of like, you go around and you collect the coins, but maybe if you're the one or the first person to actually finish and make it all the way across, you get the extra like 10 coins or something along those lines. We got to see a third of the potential 4 or 5 duel minigames. It's the Fuzzy Duel, which looks like it's the Get Fuzzy, Get Dizzy, or something along those lines from Mario Party Star Rush. And here, you're not rotating. It looks like you're more or less just holding up to go up. And then obviously when there's fuzzies, you gotta let go down a little bit. You know, make sure you don't hit any fuzzies that might be below you. And then just continue going up all the way to the top. And then the final thing that we did see specifically when it comes to the new minigames in Mario Party Jamboree, it looks like boss minigames are back. Boss minigames from like 9, 10, and Star Rush. It looks like they are back, and that potentially there might be 5 of them. Those might be the 5 minigames that we were not able to see up to this point. Now, the question that I have when it comes to the boss minigames is, are you going to fight a boss at the end of each of the 5 new boards? Or are these maybe for like a story mode where you do one at the end because it's a story mode? I would be interested to see which it is. Because if we do get a story mode, even if it is just something as simple as Super, I'd be cool with that. But if you get to play each board on story mode, and maybe that's how you unlock like King Bowser's Keep or something like that, that'd be pretty cool. So the next mode that we're going to talk about, and it probably will be the shortest one, because I feel like we more or less have a good idea on everything when it comes to the Koopathlon, is the Koopathlon. We got to see a few more of the mini games. Some of them, you know, you're counting characters and you got to go through the right door. And then if you go through the door that does have the more amount of characters, you'll get the coins. Whereas if you don't, then you'll get a little bit of a punishment where you got to do something to be able to move on to the next room. We finally got a better look at the cannon one where you're shooting for yourself from cannon to cannon to get as many coins as you can. We finally got to see the one that looks like Peace Out, but here you got to surround the bombs with coins, and that will be how many you get so long as you actually, you know, surround the bombs with coins. We also got to see the Bowser one where you got to jump over the flames. That one looks like a fun Bowser one. But speaking about the Bowser in this mode, I would say don't lose when it comes to Bowser showing up. Otherwise, you're going to get sent backwards. It looks like depending on the placement that you get will determine how far you get sent back. Where like if you're one of the first people that get out, either you'll get sent back the most or you'll get sent back the least. I don't really remember which one it is. Maybe Connor in the future when he's editing this can pop it up on screen right now. But yeah, that's really all I got to talk about when it comes to Koopathlon. Like, there really wasn't too much other than like more of the stuff that we already know, and then just showing a couple of the mini games that we really haven't seen yet. But we did get to see a little bit more when it comes to the Bowser Kaboom Squad, I believe is what it is called. So in this mode, you're going to have to try to defeat the imposter Bowser, or whatever the specific name for this Bowser is, and you have to beat him in 5 90-second rounds. In those 90 seconds, you're going to be going through and collecting bombs and then throwing them into cannons to shoot at Bowser. After those 90 seconds are up, you will play one of the 8-player minigames, and depending on how you do, will determine what items you may be able to get to improve your speed and your efficiency at getting more bombs to defeat Bowser. Some of these include like dash panels, or bananas to trip up Bowser, or hammers to be able to break the boxes easier. Now, some of the other minigames that we got to see is, it looks like Balloons Tower Defense, but instead it's Fence Tower Defense. That's what I'm calling it. You gotta get the bombs and throw them into the water so they don't blow up the fence. You are the monkeys now from Balloons Tower Defense, and you gotta keep that gate sealed and make sure they don't break through. The next one, it was 8-player Desert Dash. You play 8-player Desert Dash against a Wiggler, and you gotta beat Wiggler to the end, otherwise you don't get anything. It looks like if even one person is potentially slightly off with their timing, you are going to have such a horrible time in this minigame. It is going to be hell, and especially if anybody has any kind of lag in this, oh, is it going to be fun. And then like the last newish minigame that we really got to look at was a minigame where you look at the different directions that the arrow were pointing at. If the arrow points down, you all look down, and then you all get points. Stuff, you know, simple along those lines. But the last thing when it comes to this mode is that you mash A at the end of it. Once you have lowered Bowser down at the very end, he'll spit out a superstar, everybody gets the power of the star, and then you just mash A to defeat Bowser. Now, this probably isn't a thing, but personally, I would find it hilarious if you don't mash fast enough that Bowser actually lives, and then you have to hit him with another round of bombs to try again. I know that probably isn't the case, but I would just find it pretty funny. And that is more or less everything that I was able to find in all of everything that I was looking at when it comes to Mario Party Jamboree. I am sure there are a few pictures out there or a few videos out there that I haven't seen. So if there are, feel free to discuss about them in the comments below. But I am going to end everything off here. So unless we sit here and we have more information next week, my guess is that I probably won't have too many more Jamboree specific videos until we get a little bit closer, like next month. So with that being said, thank you all for watching, and I will probably see you sometime in the future. Goodbye, everyone.